I've just reloaded, and can turn that off. Okay, so the answer was that 3 answers. Krishna may just want to give it to you to help you. You may be purifying yourself, and so gradually you're getting it. You're gradually getting it just from your purification. Krishna may give you a little more to encourage you, may give you a little more to help you because you need it. He may give you a little more to confirm that you're on the right track. But but you should understand that it's part of the practice of bhakti that you'll get a taste. Okay. So now I'm going to turn the recorder off. And I have not eaten very much today. And I am starving, and I'm going to eat something. It's okay to eat this late at night if you're starving, otherwise don't do it. And I probably won't go to bed for another few hours. So, Krishna House is famous for its prasadam. Can you see it? They distribute like 500 or 1,000 plates every day on the campus. And I guess I'm getting some of it. So now, if you ask questions, then I can answer. Krishna Badaya, Krishna Prasthaya, Mutale, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Shamati, Namaste Saraswati. We have buckwheat here. Thank you. I'm so hungry. You have no idea. So, just like now I have to eat with my mouth open. I have to speak while I'm eating. My wife will get mad at me. She doesn't like me to do that. Why don't you all start discussing? Sometimes when Prabhupada would speak, he would say something, then he would say, discuss. So why don't you discuss through chat? Then I can add something. So, if we're not getting a taste, what are we doing wrong? Probably starts with bad japa, generally. Or you have to look at your motivation. Maybe you're serving. You get recognition. To show off, to outdo somebody. Yeah, Carol, you can ask a question. I'm gonna, if it's not on topic, and then if anyone has an on-topic question, we'll answer it first, then we can go to yours. Sometimes you can't always understand what you're doing wrong. But sometimes you can trace it back to see if there was a change in your consciousness or your actions recently. And that way, sometimes you could. But usually, if you chant well, that will give you a taste. And so, how could you not have a taste if you're chanting well every day? That would be kind of impossible, I think. Or you're enthusiastic. If you're enthusiastic every day, serving, if your motive is pure, or if you're making an effort, then I don't see how you cannot get a taste. It's when our motive's impure, that's when we don't get the taste. When we're trying to enjoy. Every time we're thinking of putting ourselves in the center, we don't get that spiritual taste. It's the ultimate irony. You try to enjoy materially, there's no way you can get spiritual taste. You lose out in so many ways. I'll tell you something, a realization I had today. I'm going to India and I want to do workshops in the corporate sector. So I was on YouTube listening to some of the biggest guys as corporate teachers. They're really good. I could use a lot of their stuff and adapt it on a spiritual basis. But every single one of them, their whole consciousness was become successful. Materially successful. And you might say, well, what's wrong with being materially successful? I was just listening to a morning walk, and Prabhupada was condemning people for working hard. You might think, well, hard work is a virtue. He was condemning. Not working so hard, what for? Material advancement, so-called conveniences. He was condemning it and said, you live off the land. You live simply. That was his vision. So he was putting down industrialization. Work. So I'm watching these guys and they're giving all these formulas. This is how to be successful. Overcome procrastination. Really good stuff. It all works. And so then he shows, okay, this is how you do it. First thing. You have your goal. What did he say? You have your goal. Like a bigger than life goal, clearly in your mind, this is what I want. And you write it down. And you read it at night and you read it in the morning. So you're planning it in your subconscious mind. Then you have a picture book. And you have pictures of it. So you're planning it, right? So what did he have? Had a picture of a cruise boat, a cruise ship. Or it might have been a yacht. It might have been his own yacht. Picture of a big house. Picture of a sports car. And I'm looking at this and thinking, these are like the biggest success gurus, and they always come back to money, having. This is success. And Prabhupada he kept putting that down. He never talked about success in those terms. Always talked about success as spiritual success, and materially, he always talked about keep it simple. He never motivated us to be great, to be successful materially. That wasn't his job as a guru. He actually motivated us to keep it simple. Interesting, isn't it? I mean, if you listen to Prabhupada enough, he was basically undermining this whole civilization. That's how he preached. Does that mean you shouldn't be materially successful? No, but it means not to be obsessed with it. Not like, I'm going to be the success coach. I'm going to show you all how to be super successful. You can achieve anything you want. Anything. So what's that anything you want? It's all about what you want, right? Anything you want. Okay. Bring those guys in and say, I'll help you achieve anything you want for Krishna. Okay. Then we'll apply all those principles. They're great principles. Let's apply them. But otherwise, it's disgusting. When these guys are successful, they figured out how to be successful, they're helping other people be successful. And when you're successful, what do? You get a lot of money. And what do you do when you get a lot of money? Do you give it away? And live in a 2-bedroom apartment? And drive a Toyota Corolla? A 1995 Toyota Corolla? I don't think so. Unless you're a pure devotee. You give all the money, you're broke the next day? And your car doesn't run, you have no money to fix it. Well, that's an extreme case, but you get the idea. Okay, we have questions here. He's asking, how can I understand what I'm doing is wrong, knitting into taste? What are the list of things? Well, I don't know there's so much of a list, but I think it's a wrong way of thinking also. But again, we go back to that point. You're thinking about yourself, you're not going to be happy. A question. So here's a question off the topic. You can have questions if you want. We just gave a class on taste, importance of taste, and how taste nullifies material attachment and the desire for sense gratification. Krishna conscious taste nullifies. It's like a medicine. Cure the disease of material attachment. There's a question off the topic. Offenses can affect. Yeah. Why does rain fall over the oceans? Stump the Guru. It's time to play Stump the Guru.
Don't the rains fall everywhere?
Yeah.
Indiscriminately?
They fall indiscriminately. But she's saying, well, shouldn't they have a brain? They don't need to fall in the ocean. It's the way Krishna made it, Carol.
And just give us an analogy.
Prabhupada gives the example that rain even falls on the ocean. It doesn't need it, so mercy falls for those who are not qualified to get it. So
falls in the ocean, just so Prabhupada can give us that example.
Falls on the rocks, in the desert. So wherever you are, you can get the mercy. Who knows? Maybe the ocean needs rain. I don't know. Wow. Another off-topic question. Okay. One more. We're doing a series on taste. We're dealing with the dichotomy of a devotee should want taste, but he shouldn't want sense gratification. And how do you distinguish in your consciousness the difference? So I want a taste, but then that taste would be sense gratification. Demigods distribute the rain. Then say, well, yeah. Then we have to ask the demigods why. Another topic off question: do I like buckwheat? No, only when I'm starving, and I'm starving now, so I like it. Otherwise, I don't like it. I think according to macrobiotic people, you should eat it in the winter, not the summer. Oh, all of you didn't know what buckwheat was. It's got a Hindi name. What's the Hindi name for buckwheat?
What's the Hindi name for buckwheat? Buckwheat.
I don't know.
The grain that we had today?
Yeah, I don't know.
Nobody knows the name.
I know in Polish what it's called.
What?
It's like kasha in Polish.
Kasha in Polish. I told a story last week. Roma didn't hear it. Maybe some of you forgot. That one devotee was thinking that if I pray to Lord Jagannath to reveal himself to me, then I'm ordering him. And he had doubts that that prayer is bona fide. Please be visible to me. Jagannath Swami, Nayana Patakam. It's like saying, Krishna, come. Come to the path of my eyes. You know, so can you come so I can see you? And Bhaktisiddhanta said that you can't see Krishna. Is that sweet? Is that carrot halva? That's a lot. He said you can't see Krishna if you're trying to enjoy him. Because Krishna is the object of service. So if you see him with enjoyment, it's not Krishna. It's like you look at the deity, and you may not see Krishna there, but when there's more devotion, you appreciate Krishna's beauty, and you see him there, right? So, Krishna, please be visible to me. Prabhupada said, well, he didn't answer it that way. He said, that prayer means, Krishna, reveal yourself to me. Like, kind of like, God, give me a sign you're there. You know, like, I want to believe in you. I want to trust you. Give me a sign. You ever feel like that?
Yeah.
Krishna, listen, that's going on. Did you turn your computer off today? You know, you know what's going on with me? So, that's the mode of the prayer. So Prabhupada said, if Krishna doesn't reveal himself to you, how can you go on in bhakti? And if there's no... It's like you're married to someone and they're not nice to you. There's absolutely no pleasure in the relationship. And then how can you go on? Hi, honey, how's it going? Hi. Want to do something tonight? No. So, unless Krishna shows his blissful something, that he shows himself in some way that he's there, even maybe through suffering, how will you go on in bhakti? You lose faith. In fact, Bhaktisiddhanta said something interesting about japa. He said by committing offenses, we lose faith because we don't get experience. And experience is necessary for faith. At least it's an important aspect of faith. Because you can't argue with experience. You can argue with philosophy. I don't believe in UFOs, I don't believe in God, this and that. When you're jumping up and down in the kirtan, you can't argue with that. Right? My faith in Krishna consciousness was generated through kirtan. Because the experience I had with kirtan was detaching me from my material life. And it was giving me the kind of happiness I never got before. So then I thought, I believe in the whole philosophy. I said, I'll believe in everything they say, because this has proof that it works and it's true. So my faith in the teachings of Gita were based on my experience with kirtan. That interesting? So it goes along with what Prabhupada's saying. If you give them taste. From taste, faith will develop. So, Krishna, please reveal yourself to me. He reveals himself. Otherwise, Prabhupada says, otherwise how can you go on? I get nothing out of this mantra. Come join the temple, it's wonderful. I chant every day, I get nothing. Experience absolutely nothing. How long will you stay? We're only here because of our taste, ultimately. When it really comes down to it. There's intelligence, that's there, but there must be taste. I don't know. In my life, I see sometimes I'm trying to do something and it won't work out. It's normally simple. It means I have to do something else, and then by doing something else happens. That wouldn't have happened if it worked out. And then I realized Krishna didn't allow it to work out, so I would do something else, so I'd meet this person, so this would happen. Ever happened to you? That builds faith, doesn't it? That Krishna is there, he's taking care of us, he's guiding us. Of course, we have our free will, but the more we give up our free will to his will, the more he can do that. It's called having a Draupadi moment. Hey, Govinda. Okay, Krishna. I've decided to give up playing God. That's it. I give up. That's when he takes over. That's when you have more of those experiences.
I have a question. So, how do you, is that like a continuous sort of process? Because it seems like you can do that once and then a few days later you're again back to thinking you're God. Wanting to enjoy it.
It's a state of, it should be a permanent state of consciousness, ideally.
How do you keep that? How do you, it's on a daily basis?
Or how do you stay in the consciousness that you're not God? Look around. That's the irony of it. There's unlimited evidence to the contrary. It's not that we can't see it, it's just we don't want to accept it. We don't want to accept that we're not God. Right? That's the problem. That's why it's so hard. I mean, that's what we're learning in spiritual life. That we're not God. And it's not easy to learn. A lot of it is just my personal realization. If you become conditioned to believe that doing something or thinking in a certain way is enjoyable, then you'll do it even if it doesn't give you enjoyment until the belief changes that it's not enjoyable anymore. So I have to make an admittance, embarrassing admittance. I was in Mayapur when I was younger, and we were by the Ganga. Right? So on the Ganga, women bathe, they take off their clothes, and they go in, and they wear their slips. What do you call it?
Gamsha?
Yeah, gamsha or a slip. Is there a name for those slips? Petties?
Petticoat.
Petticoat, yeah. So we have to walk by them, right? We have to walk by them. So we're walking by them. They're all like old ladies. The old ladies in Mayapur, they don't care. Just let it all hang out. Right? That's just, they're like 70, 80. So I'm walking by them and and I'm like, I do a double take. And I'm thinking, I was like 25, and I'm thinking, why did I do that? Because I've been conditioned to believe that that's enjoyable. So it's like a spontaneous reaction, you know. Like when Draupadi was when they're trying to pull off her sari, it said that no respectable man would look at her; they would turn their eyes away. If she were naked, there was no respectable man would look at a respectable woman, naked, or any woman. But our conditioned tendency would be, okay, I'm not supposed to look, but I'll just look a little bit. Right? That's the condition. Why? Because it's programmed in there that this is enjoyable, so I should do it. So now we're programmed to think it's enjoyable to be God or imitate Him. So even though we understand it's not, we still do it until we come to this core level. Yes. Until we come to this core level where we're convinced or we believe on this core level it's not enjoyment anymore. Which is the value of taste, because taste will do that. Because you'll come to this point where all of a sudden stuff here, you'll look at it and go, no, it's not enjoyment. But when you're down here, you look at it and go, yeah, it looks good. So our desire, that's why it's so hard to be humble. That's why it's so hard to be humble like me. I was hiring a secretary and a devotee wrote me an email. She said, I'm good, I'm this, I'm that, and then she said, I'm humble. I think she was serious. That's why it's so hard to be humble, because we're so deeply programmed that if we're humble, we're like last. Taken advantage of, we'll never be happy, never go anywhere. I mean, we have the wrong concept of what humility is. Maybe it's a material concept. Maybe we have a material idea of humility. But when we find ourselves stuck where we know something is right, but we're doing the opposite, there's some level of habit, conditioning, belief that's so strong, it just kind of, we like automatically, it's like Prabhupada said, straightening the dog's tail. Straighten out the tail, what happens? As soon as you let go. So it takes some purification and also some desire, just frustration with your own self for having that desire. And no, I don't want to think like this anymore. And think of the opposite. Now, what would the opposite be? Of controller, servant. I really want to be the servant, not controller. I really want to be appreciating other devotees. I don't want to be proud and try to show off. So you develop the opposite quality. If you develop it deeply enough, then you'll see your tendency for the other things will diminish or totally be dissolved. So that's the problem, this core desire to enjoy. And that's why Krishna sends Guru, so now you have somebody to love and serve. Or the Vaishnavas to love and serve. So you can develop that. Okay. Here's someone else. So I've never served anyone selflessly. Here, let me serve. You can serve Krishna through the Guru. Serve this person like he was Krishna, selflessly. That's easier than serving Krishna self. Because, nobody was envious of Prabhupada. He was coming to save them. And somehow we're envious of Krishna in some level. But we could serve Prabhupada purely. We could give our life purely. Not ask for anything. And he was giving us so much. So it's, that relationship is important. It helps us. Right? What do you say out there? Out there. They're all saying they're humble. Maybe we can have a contest. Who's the most humble? You can write an essay and explain why you're the most humble.
So if you're thinking, I'm humble, then automatically you're not humble. So
Not necessarily.
just by being in the mood of menial service that you can be humble?
Well, actually, I can go a little deeper because the problem is you have to be able to monitor your spiritual progress. So there has to be a humble way of noticing whether or not you're becoming humble. Because if you're not noticing you're becoming humble, then you want to work on it. So you have to, you see what I'm saying? So if you're totally not even be able to objectively identify whether you're proud or humble, that's not good. So you have to humbly objectify whether you're humble or not, or advancing in humility. So the way you do that is that you compare it to a stage before. So I think I'm advancing more in humility than I was before, but I'm still proud. So that way you can stay humble. Right? But objectify whether you're advancing in humility. Something like that. As Prabhupada once said in a lecture, he said, you should see how your qualities, your Vaishnava qualities are developing. So how can you see if your humility is developing? You have to be able to, in some detached way, notice. Right? So, it's kind of awkward, but if you ask one of your godbrothers, Prabhu, am I becoming humble? Then he can chastise you and see how you react and then give you the answer. But I think, see, humility means you're aware you're insignificant, you're aware of you're helpless. So if you're actually humble, you'll be acting in that way. You'll be acting and feeling insignificant, not in the sense of unempowered or useless or depressed, but insignificant in the sense that I'm one of zillions, quadrillions, bazillions. Is bazillion a number? I don't think zillion's a number either. Entities. And that I look at myself and I can say, as I'm advancing, that my motive for serving Krishna is not to show off as much as it used to be. Now I'm just trying to show off a little bit, but I used to try to show off a lot. And now I used to do something I wanted everyone to say, that was good, and now if only one person says that's good, I'm happy. So I'm advancing, but I'm not perfect yet. So we have to look, have to be in touch internally to evaluate how we're doing. And so, especially to see if there's something wrong. And say, wait a minute, I just did that service with the thought that everyone's going to glorify me. That's wrong. So now you can catch yourself. So you have to have that, ability to say, am I humble or not? Does that make sense?
So is it more of an internal, like comparing to how you used to be?
Yeah.
As soon as you compare yourself to how somebody else is, then it becomes private.
Yeah. I'm better than you. Unless you compare yourself and you're worse, you realize you're worse than them. But generally comparing it to yourself. But then you get into that. Then you get into the problem of trying to manifest humility that's not really humility. It's just kind of, you're like showing off or something. But Hridaya Nanamar says it's hyper-humility. I'm the most this, let me touch your feet, give me the shade of your lotus feet, benedict me, I have no hope. And you're just talking to some new bhakta,
Yeah.
who just joined like 3 days ago. It's like, so. I see the problem for us is control and the desire to draw attention to ourselves. That's really where we need to look at. And fault finding, tendency to put others down rather than to exalt them. These are things we need to look at. And that hyper-humility, that's for more advanced devotees. Where you actually feel, some new bhakta comes and you feel, he can bless me, I'm so fallen. That's Mahabhagava. He feels like that. So we don't want to imitate that. I'm ignoring you guys out there, huh? Yes, I've given many classes on humility. A couple on Mayapur.tv and on Krishna.com/Mahatma. We actually did a seminar on it last year in Mayapur and in New Vrindavan. And one of the things you realize by focusing on a class in humility is you start to see how often we're motivated by the desire to get some recognition or be accepted. So in the humility class we asked a question. What do you want people to believe about you? So by answering that question you start to understand. Well, the second question is, what do you do to get them to believe that? So you start to look at, well, do I do things to get people to believe certain things about me? So it brings awareness to how much we're motivated to be acknowledged, accepted, appreciated. Where really, although that's a deep motivation, beyond that is could I get a little something, just a rag or something to wash my hands? I think it's a stronger need or desire to appreciate than to be appreciated. But we come into the world with these strong desires for honor, appreciation, and so forth. And you don't always see it. Thank you. You don't always see it unless you look for it. And a lot of times we don't look for it because we don't want to admit that we have it. Because it's not pleasant to find it. Is it? I thought I was a nice girl. I thought I was a nice servant and very helpful. Now I look at my heart and I see that, well, I want people, when I show up, I want people to believe this about me. And then I try to act this way so they'll believe that. And that's not pure devotional service. Then you start, thank you. You're an ocean. Whenever someone would help us, we say you're an ocean. We say you're an ocean of mercy, but sometimes we'd say you're an ocean. So you're an ocean. You're definitely an ocean. Now what you're going to be an ocean of, that's another thing. Sagar is an ocean. But what ocean? That's the question. So he has to be careful what ocean he is.
Indian Ocean.
But part of advancing in Krishna consciousness is awareness. I think what happens for many is that, or maybe for all of us, is that sometimes we act or we say things, and the motive could be frustration with ourselves for not being Krishna conscious, and then we're just blaming somebody else. I feel like this because the movement's like that, or things are this way. And so we don't realize we're doing that. We don't realize the problem is not them, it's us. And we're looking for a scapegoat, or it seems to be the problem is somebody else. And so when you become more honest or introspective or whatever you want to call it, you can start to get more real about what's going on with yourself that's making you say these things. In the early days of the movement, what you would find is that, Roma, why don't you go to sleep? I'm keeping you awake. when she's in England, and the other devotee's in Israel. For him, it's like 3 in the morning. What was I saying?
Israel.
In the old days.
In the old days, we were in Israel before that. What was I saying about Israel?
2 different time zones, England.
Oh yeah, before that. Too much sugar. See what it does? Forgot what I was going to say about the old days. What were we talking about before that? Looking at yourself.
What to do, like,
Yeah. So, very common thing. I don't know if it's. I'm kind of out of touch between the old days of ISKCON and what goes on in ISKCON now for people who are like the same age as when we joined, like yourselves. But it was very common to blame situations or environment on our problems. It's, I'm having trouble because, and then there'd be some reason outside of us, this person or this situation. And as you advance in Krishna consciousness, then you start to look at, I'm having problems because of me, and seeing where they're really coming from. But a lot of times we're upset by things, and those things, because they're affecting us, we think those are the problems. And we're kind of just a white sheet, and those things threw dirt on us, rather than the fact that we didn't like what happened. We took the dirt from what we didn't like, and then we threw the dirt ourselves. So that's it's a more mature stage of realization. But not everyone's willing to admit that. And you can see in ISKCON today, different people have different philosophies, different ideas, and some of those ideas are very blame-oriented. And whenever there's blame orientation, if it's not constructively working to improve it, then there's a lot of people not taking responsibility for what they've created in their life, or what's been created in ISKCON, because they're part of ISKCON, and how to make it better. Because you just blame, you can't make it better. I'm keeping this poor girl awake. Of course, Rama, you want to follow my footsteps. When I went to college, I went to bed at 3 a.m. But I wasn't a devotee. And I'd get up like, 11. What a life, huh? Then I joined the temple, and basically it was waking up around the time I used to go to sleep. That was really difficult. Yeah.
So you mentioned how if we have an obstacle, the only solution is to have a higher taste. Then we won't see the lower desires.
Maybe not the only, but very one of the main ways, yeah.
But often we see that, if talking from my perspective as a student, and sometimes you need more time to go deeper into spiritual life, but then, so how can we actually...
You're saying in the intermediate stage, before we get the taste, how do we deal with it?
Yeah, but it seems as we have to...
You're going, before you have the taste, you're going more on your own willpower. And your willpower, your determination, and your developing of better habits, reprogramming yourself, so to speak, developing new habits that will be more supporting and productive. There's a lecture Prabhupada says in the beginning we don't like to chant. We have no taste, but we chant. So by chanting, taste comes. He said, but in the beginning, you're doing it by force. And force means you know it's the right thing, so you force yourself. But rest assured, if you keep chanting, someday there'll be taste. So the whole key is don't jump off the ship before the taste comes. But at the same time, I think it's important to do things in Krishna consciousness that give you taste. So let's say maybe you don't have so much taste for japa, but you really have a taste for learning shlokas or chanting shlokas. Or you really have a taste for a particular kind of service. It's important to not minimize those things that give you taste. Because the taste in one area will affect you in another area. So that taste here will help you deal with a problem over there that seems not directly related, but it's all related on a higher level. A lot of times we're attracted to doing something, which when we're in Krishna consciousness we think, how was it possible that I was thinking like that? I don't even understand how I could think that way. It's because you weren't getting a taste at that point. And the reality is that it's our nature to enjoy, and it's our nature to have taste. And so, as Prabhupada would say, if you don't have spiritual taste, you'll have to have material taste. Well, that's the problem. I mean, that's the danger. I mean, it's just a reality, you know. Things out there are attractive, aren't they? I mean, it's an attractive world. There's a lot of beautiful people, there's a lot of beautiful movies, beautiful songs, beautiful bodies, smart people, attractive intelligence. But when you're in Krishna consciousness, like Prabhupada said, a pure devotee sees someone even as significant as Brahma as insignificant as an ant. Or to speak of a rock star, a movie star, a politician, a multi-billionaire, who we think, here's somebody great or important. And when you listen to Prabhupada speak, you can feel this is where he's coming from. You can feel it in his words. He's completely on that platform. There's nothing in this world that is attractive to him. He's only in this world to reform it. He's not in this world to enjoy it at all. You can see that in his videos. When he's being surrounded by hundreds, thousands of disciples, glorifying him, worshiping him. You can see, you just look at him, and you can see. There's no desire there. There's no thought that this is enjoyable. It's only that this is service. But the thing also to realize is that consciousness is natural. That's Krishna consciousness. So what we're in now isn't natural. So we shouldn't think, oh, how can I develop that other consciousness? It's going to be so hard. No, but it's natural. And in the right environment, it sprouts. So it's just important for you to do things that help you, that give you taste, and don't neglect them for any long period of time. Like for some people, like kirtan is so important, and if they go for long periods of time without kirtan, they kind of feel lifeless. But for other people, reading, they have to read 2 or 3 hours a day. That just keeps them alive. Other people, extra rounds. If they don't do that, they're not inspired. So all those people make sure whatever it is they need to do, they do. Okay. Bhakti Carol says, do we take on the qualities we find fault in others? Yes. And you also take on their impious activities, their karma. And you give them your good karma.
Oh my gosh.
It's a bad deal, huh? Can you afford that? Or, she says, or do we already have those qualities and see what our faults are there in others? Yes, that's also true, but then those qualities will come and infest you more. I don't know if it's always true, because you might be upset about something somebody does that you don't, just because it's wrong, but you don't have that fault. You don't do that. But generally, it's something to look for. That if something bothers you in someone else, it probably means it's something you have not resolved within yourself. Or in some way you have the same tendency Do we see our faults in others? Yes. Does Maya give the taste? Yeah. Taste is already there because our senses are polluted, so the taste is already there for Maya. It's the senses. Maya just dangles the carrot to get your attention, to draw it away from Krishna. And then she glosses over everything. So everything's really like pale, and she comes and glosses it, so it looks like bright colors, and then you go for it, and then you get it, and it's pale. When you finally get it, you go, oh my God, I thought it was bright red, and it's faded pink. You know? It's like, here's a piece of chewing gum. You can smell it's delicious, but when you chew it, it's already been chewed. That's Maya, you know. There's nothing there, you're just chewing, you know. It's a little something left over, but it's not satisfying. So Maya, she likes to kick you, but she has to give you enough sense gratification to keep you coming back for more, so that if you didn't get any sense gratification, just got kicked, you wouldn't come back, right? So she give you enough sense gratification that you'll tolerate the kick. That's her trick. You know, like, what do they say? The donkey, the she-donkey kicks the he-donkey when they have sex. But he won't give up. As long as he gets the sex, it's worth it. Hare Krishna. Yes?
I've noticed that I don't know if this is like a recent phenomenon, but sometimes devotees will speak for a long period of time. But when Prabhupada spoke, he didn't speak for long periods of time. It's very...
Half-hour lecture, yeah.
Yeah. But now we have, and not that we don't enjoy it, not that we don't need to hear things like this. Like,
long classes,
we've been here talking for
workshop,
3 hours, and we're loving it. Like this morning we had this 2-hour, we had like a 2-hour class. So I'm just wondering where that comes from.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Well, he monitored his classes, Bhagavatam and evening classes, to fit within a schedule. But he did advise, we should study all his books, Bhakti Shastri and all that. So it's a different, it's more of the lectures were less study programs. And these other programs where there's more study, then it's necessary to take more time. And we can alter things that Prabhupada did if it serves a purpose and it's not against our philosophy or against the principles he taught. I don't think Prabhupada would object if people are willing to hear, and it's not minimizing their service. If it were minimizing their service, he would object. But, once Prabhupada came to Los Angeles, it probably was 1975 or 76, and it was the world headquarters, at least the Western world headquarters. And there are many, many departments. We had a department that was building dioramas for museums. We had a recording studio. We had an art department with the artists. We had the graphic, the BBT laying out the books. We had the BBT warehouse where all the books were shipped from. And so many things within the temple were going on as well. So many other programs. So they took Prabhupada on a tour. One devotee went on the tour and he told me what Prabhupada said. So wherever they took him, like they take him, for example, to the art department, he would say, just paint for Krishna. Then he'd take him to like the book department and say, just sell books for Krishna. And they'd take him to the recording studio and say, well, just sing for Krishna. So everywhere he went, he would focus on, just do something for Krishna, And so, also in Prabhupada's books, he writes about always talking about Krishna, always chanting, always being engaged 24 hours a day. So, as long as it serves our purpose. it can be adjusted. You had a question? You're questioning whether it's bona fide or something?
No, I'm just wondering where that comes from, because we have this idea of Prabhupada really setting the precedent for everything. But it's...
That's
I
true.
can see that it's actually...
Well, let me say something else. Not everything that goes on in ISKCON, that went on in ISKCON when Prabhupada was here, was something that he set the precedent for. But it might have been a program which was an idea a devotee had for which Prabhupada approved, or a program that was developed and then reported to Prabhupada for which he approved. So I think many people assume that everything that went on when Prabhupada was here was planned out by him. We do this. Some things were not planned out by him. Like getting a bus. I mean, maybe the seed ideas might have been there directly, indirectly, but not everything was, now you do this way, now, like that. Some things were, some things weren't. And then you also have a movement that's evolving, and so more things are developing that were not developed. And then you have people who are older and smarter, and so they can look back and see the way things were done and figure better ways to do it. Now, if you minimize class entirely so you could get out earlier to do your service, then you could argue that and say, okay, that's not right. Okay. Yeah. We have, okay. Anything else? Okay. I can go now? That was not 3 hours, it was 3.5. This was just on Tuesday nights. Okay, everyone. It's time to go get a taste for devotional service. Hare Krishna.